It's a people,
Hi, I'm
it's a
Kate
community,
McGrady.
it's a life,
Welcome to
it's a
Talking
heart,
About.
it's a spirit.
Parents of gay children say, I want my son, my gay son, to have the same opportunity to come to me and say, hey, Dad, I'm getting married, as my non-gay son or my non-gay daughter.
The heck would you want a picture of a tattoo of $1,000 on your penis for?
You might just need to satisfy yourself sexually alone at that point.
I regret it not one bit. Did I think that I would actually take it the next step and do it again?
And what goes into their life, how they handle it. There are 12 houses, and each one of those houses has a particular function.
Look into yourself, think about it, and just be whoever it is that speaks to you.
McGrane, and welcome to Talking About. Tonight, my co-host is Lisa Perzak, VP of ASALI, the American Salvadorian Association of Long Island. Did I say all that right? There we go, that's a mouthful. And the president of ASALI, Rafael Flores, Mr. Fernando Mateo of Hispanics Across America, welcome. And we also have Bob McGovern, a labor employment attorney, and Marty Cantor, famous economist. And you're with Sustainable Long Island.
Right, the Director of Economic Development.
Director of Economic Development. I got to say, all of you have really managed to test my diction skills tonight, so we're going to try to press this on a little bit more. Tonight our topic will be DR-CAFTA, the Dominican Republic Central American Free Trade Agreement. How did I do?
It's finally here.
Right? It's
Good.
finally here.
Yes.
It's finally here. Now this was how many years in the making?
A few years, I think, like long time. Fernando Mateo.
It's been a struggle. It's been quite some time. The president has wanted to. First, it was just CAFTA, and towards the end, the president included the Dominican Republic. And I guess what we're trying to do here is create opportunities, create jobs, help the economies of these countries, and bring them to the mainstream.
Tell
and
us
there's
about
opposition. There are people pro and there are people against. So I guess we're here to lay all that out.
Yeah.
Your organization, Hispanics Across America, what is the primary function?
Well, we played a big role in that. We took a lot of people to Washington to visit some of the senators, the congressmen. We walked the halls. We explained to all of our members of Congress how important it was for our countries to have the DR-CAFTA project pass. Unfortunately, a lot of the New York constituents voted against CAFTA. And that's really good to know, because now we know who supported us and who didn't. So when the next elections come along, it's going to be very important that we let our community, that we let our people know what congressmen supported us and what congressmen didn't. We know Hillary Clinton didn't support us, so certainly she's going to hear a mouthful.
This was a very close vote.
It was very close. I think we won by 2 votes.
Six.
Was it 6?
217 to 215, I thought.
Yeah, okay, so it's, we won by a few votes, a handful, but fortunately, we won't, it doesn't matter if
But
you
you
win by
win.
1 vote,
By one
we
vote.
You win,
win.
you
So
win.
what we stood to lose in the Dominican Republic specifically was billions of dollars a year that we're currently doing with the United States. So if CAFTA wouldn't have come into play to replace the old agreement, we would have not only lost those $8 billion in trade, we would have had a country without jobs, without opportunity. And those that agree with us are happy. Those that didn't agree with us have concerns that we're hopefully going to address here today.
Now, you specifically stated the Dominican Republic, but this affects many more areas.
Oh yeah,
than that.
it affects El Salvador, Nicaragua, a lot of other countries that are
Costa
involved
Rica,
in
Panama.
Costa Rica, Panama, a
Guatemala.
lot of other countries that are in the whole package. And I think that what CAFTA is going to do is going to give us these countries the opportunity to just create opportunities so that people don't have to immigrate into the United States. There are some labor concerns, how these workers are going to be treated. And our philosophy has always been, and our thought has always been, it's easy to deal with a problem that exists than to deal with no problem. So if we believe that those countries are going to abuse the workers or not pay the workers wages that they can sustain themselves and their families with, then that's where certain things come into play, where we'll make sure that people aren't abused and people work for slave wages. So I think that all in all, the package is a good package. I know that Secretary Gutierrez worked very hard. The president worked very hard to make sure that this DR-CAFTA passed, and we're very fortunate that it did, because if it didn't, it would have meant loss of jobs, loss of opportunities for people in these Latin American countries.
Speaking of President Bush, he did make a very interesting comment when he signed the agreement. All of us in this room understand that to keep our economy growing and creating jobs, we need to open markets for American products overseas. All of us understand that strengthening our economic ties with our democratic neighbors is vital to America's economic and national security interests. And all of us understand that by strengthening ties with democracies in our hemisphere, we are advancing the stability that comes from freedom. Any comment?
I think President Bush is a great president, and we are just so happy to have a president like the one that we have, supporting all these Central American countries and the Dominican Republic. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be good for these Latin American countries, like Fernando Mateo was saying. It's history. We definitely made history. These Latin American countries, they needed this agreement to be signed, and finally it was signed. I think it's going to create a lot of jobs in Central America. I think we can thank them enough. I think this is a great opportunity for these Latin American countries to walk side by side with this beautiful country, United States.
Mr. Cantor.
That's me.
That's you. Sorry. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that the agreement, whether it was in or not, was still going to create jobs in the country. I would think that remember that President Bush did this more for his constituency, which is big business, than for Central America. The fact is, it is a good bill. We should have free trade. Free trade's been here for a long time. We're in a global economy, and this country is one of the last countries to recognize what a global economy is and what global economics is. There's every reason to say we should have open trade with the countries that are in this agreement, for the one reason that if, and you, Fernando, you said a mouthful, traditionally in the countries that you were talking about, the wages have been abysmally poor. Forget about environmental and worker conditions, which are horrendous. The reason why the vote was so close in the Congress was organized labor in the United States who was fearing job loss because it's not an even playing field. The workers get abused, will continue to be abused, unless the leadership of those Central American countries stand up and enact a Bill of Rights for workers, saying there are basic standard conditions. If they'll enact a minimum wage for their workers, but chances are they won't. So, and you know as well as I do, some of the most corrupt governments are down in Central America, South America. So there's a lot of work to be done down in those countries. President Bush gave a leg up in support, which we should. The fact of the matter is, we all want better wages for the workers in your countries, because the more money they earn, the more products they buy from America, and that creates jobs in America. That's the thrust of free trade and the free trade agreement. The fact is organized labor correct in that they lost jobs? Yes, but was it for the reason for free trade? No, it's because labor is cheap in the Pacific Rim, labor is cheap in India, labor is cheap in China. Your economies are doing marvelous because labor is inexpensive, and American countries are down there. Many of them exploit the workers in your countries. So there's a lot of work to be done to make this thing come to fruition and the dreams that you expressed happen. But there's a long way from here to there. And before we give a high five to President Bush, we have to take a hard look at the people he really wanted to benefit from this bill. And then we have to make it work. And there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that, as you said, there's a lot of corruption. I agree with you there. I agree with you that there's a lot of greed. So people are going to want to take from the poor and pay them less. But I think that's a problem that we can work through. It would have been worse if we wouldn't have had DR-CAFTA pass.
Don't disagree with you.
Then we would have had nothing to talk about or to discuss or to fight for. I think that there are going to be many eyes on DR-CAFTA. All of those congressmen, all of those legislators that voted against this agreement, they're going to be watching very closely. So I think that those particular the leaders of those countries are going to make sure that they don't screw up. Why? Because there may be sanctions that they could be hit with. You know, there are a lot of clauses in this agreement that will punish those countries that take advantage and basically pay their workers a lot less than what they should deserve. Corruption exists everywhere. It exists in this country. It exists in every other country.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I mean, so we're never going to beat that. But the truth of the matter is that I think that we can give the president a high five based on the fact that DR-CAFTA passed.
And there's one point I did want that you did mention. You know, on Long Island, obviously, it's you know, we're getting a very bad reputation for the way that we treat the immigrants that are up there. But the big thing is that they're earning, even if they're at $3 or $4 off the books, which many of them do, and it's cash.
That you're talking about here.
Here on Long Island, because when the point that you had made was that if the wages get better in the Central American countries and Dominican Republic, then those workers won't come up here to America. Now,
they may come, but not as many, because there's opportunities in those countries that they can take advantage of.
Excuse me 1 second. I just need to address. We are live here at QPTV, and you can call 718-460-9802 with questions, comments, concerns. Please feel free to call in at any time.
The biggest export from Mexico are the people. That's why President Fox wants President Bush to in effect make all the people legal. We have porous borders, so the folks are going to come in. The only way that when you work supply and demand and wage markets is that the wages in the countries that are under this agreement have to be able to pay wages that are far in excess of the 4 or 5 bucks.
Can you imagine if all these jobs and all these opportunities went to China? Do you know well, you're an economist, so you know how much.
Oh, a lot of more, believe me.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that our countries, our neighbors, part of the Americas got the opportunity to do business with the United States and vice versa. Yeah. You go to Dominican Republic, 80% of their products are imported from the United States. I mean, you're talking about a trade deficit. There's a huge trade deficit from what we buy to what we sell to the U.S. So I think with the DR-CAFTA agreement, this whole thing will come to an end. I think that we'll see more Dominican products here. We'll see more Central American products here, and we'll see more American products in those countries. The people that are hurting here are the people that have always had a hold on the business coming into the country. There's a lot of people, I see all these legislators that didn't support this act, and I'm dying to find out how much money they got from all of these business leaders and from the sugar growers, from all of these business leaders that didn't want this to happen. I can imagine the contributions that went into their coffers, into Senator Clinton, into the congressmen, into all these people. I mean, they got a lot of money to vote no.
Agriculture is going to be a big topic, but I do have a caller, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go
Hello?
ahead. Yes, hi, how are you?
How are you?
Who do we have online?
My name is Joe from Queens.
Hi, Joe, how are you?
All right, I have a question I'd like to address to the whole panel. Maybe this is on the subject of immigration, and maybe I'm getting a little bit old, or I'm missing something here, but what's the difference between an undocumented alien and a plain old illegal alien in this country?
They're both the same. Undocumented. There's no such thing as illegal. There's such a thing as undocumented.
Undocumented is politically correct.
Exactly. But exactly. But they're both the same. I mean, if you don't have papers to work in this country, if you don't have a social security number, you're considered to be an undocumented immigrant. Therefore, you're not supposed to work. No one's supposed to hire you. President Bush has a plan that is called the Temporary Workers Program, where if it's 2 3-year consecutive terms that will allow, if there's an employer willing to hire an employee and they are here and they're performing a certain job, that they can stay here for a period of time, thus having to return home after the second, third year agreement is completed. But and I think that's wonderful. If you took today, if you shipped out of this country 10 million undocumented immigrants that exists, a lot of industries would hurt. You wouldn't have landscapers, or very little landscapers. You wouldn't have people, washing dishes in restaurants. You wouldn't have, there'd be a lot of jobs that are undesirable jobs by our standards that they do. And there's a purpose for them. And if they weren't here, this economy would hurt. Because they produce, they spend, they fill a need. And it's unfortunate. I've never understood the philosophy of illegal. People should be able to travel the world. I think that this world was created for people to travel. But that's my
what do you want to say about that?
That's my opinion, Joe.
Listen, at a certain point, if you're here illegally, it's an oxymoron. If you're illegal, you should be deported back to your country, wait in line like everyone else does, and come here using the correct legal process. Believe me, those jobs that you say the Americans won't do, somehow they'll get done, those jobs. There's plenty of people in this country that are unemployed that would take those jobs. If that was the last resort, they would do it, and that case closed. So I don't buy this argument that, if we shipped out 10 million, the economy would, come on.
Bob.
That's a smokescreen, and I think it's a lot of baloney, I'll be honest with you.
Well, listen, I don't eat bologna, so I really don't. It doesn't matter. But needless to say, I will tell you one thing. I don't think that any of us here condone illegal immigration. We're not here to encourage illegal immigration. I don't think that this country, or any country really deserves illegal immigration. I think that there's a process. I think people should apply. I think that people should get here and follow the rules and regulation of the nation. But the truth of the matter is that they're here. And we have to deal with that. And they're not going anywhere. So what's the next step? The next step is to create an economy in these countries where people can stay home, find jobs, make a living. And I think the DR-CAFTA agreement certainly helps. It helps to solve some of that issue.
Mr. Flores, you were born in
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
So what have you seen? Tell us what your experience is there.
In El Salvador?
Yeah, you came here when you were how old?
I came here when I was 9.
So you were very young. But your family then had experienced the conditions that we're talking about, working.
I'm familiar with the topic. Of course, it's not going to make everybody happy. Unfortunately, that's the sad part. That this free trade agreement, some people are against, some people are in favor. But life goes on. Let's just hope, like the gentleman here was saying, that down the road things really worked out and we can give a high five to President Bush. That's the best opinion that I can express, that it's good for the people in Central America, it's good for everybody, it's a win-win situation for everybody, and that's why we're here.
I'd like to say something to Joe for a moment.
Are you still there, Joe?
No, he's off the phone,
Okay.
but I'm sure he's listening. The fact is that the unemployment rate is very, very low in this area, almost textbook fully employed. So the fact of the matter is, if those undocumented workers were thrown out of the country, there wouldn't be a ready workforce to take over the jobs that they were filling right now. So in this case, I agree with Fernando on this. So the fact is, these folks are filling a very important part of our workforce. The problem that we got, the United States always gets itself into its own problems. And when they tweaked the immigration law, a couple in the mid-90s, they created the problem with you needed a I-9, you had to fill out a Social Security card. To hire people. It used to be, because I did some work for an immigration attorney, and we were working with the workers. You had to file tax returns, you had to get a labor certification from the employer saying that you were fulfilling a job that nobody else in the country would fill. You go back to your country, you go to the embassy, you present your papers, you come back in. There was a process. Under the law that was passed, I believe in the mid-90s, it put a screeching halt to this stuff. And so now what's happening is that, and the borders are very porous, and the government isn't really doing its job in terms of if undocumented aliens are that distasteful to this country, then we ought to be beefing up our immigration and naturalization service, put them on a picket line all across Texas and Mexico and keep the folks out, but we're not. So we have created our own problems. And now these folks are working, and they are a very important part of the workforce. And they are fulfilling jobs that a lot of Americans just will not fill.
Bob McGovern, labor employment attorney at Myers, Swazi, English & Klein. You have firsthand experience with issues of labor now and employment. Do you deal with illegal immigrants and, undocumented immigrants? And has this come across your desk as issue?
Well, the issues arisen in the context of labor law. A couple of years back, the Supreme Court issued a decision in a case where some people who were undocumented aliens were terminated by their employer after they tried to join a labor union. And the National Labor Relations Board, the federal agency which is in charge of enforcing America's labor laws, said that that company had to offer reinstatement to those people and give them back pay. The company appealed, went up to the United States Supreme Court, which ruled that, well, wait a minute, we have these immigration laws and these people are not authorized to work. They don't have the proper paperwork. They couldn't do an I-9. They're not legally in the country. And the Supreme Court ruled, well, because of that, the NLRB went outside of its jurisdiction by awarding the back pay. So in the context of labor law, an undocumented alien can work. They can take these undesirable jobs, but if the employer turns around and fires them, for example, if they try to bring in a labor union, tough luck, they'll be deported and there'll be no remedy for them under the law.
You know, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe, that when someone risks their life to come to this country, in most cases, a lot of people risk their lives daily, to find the opportunities that we currently have in this country, and they survive to make it here. And they get here and they're looking to struggle to support their families back home. You've got to give them a certain amount of credit for that struggle. And coming from the Dominican Republic, coming from an island, we see every day hundreds of people drowning in the ocean trying to get from the Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico. The same thing you see people leaving Cuba trying to get to Florida. The same way you see people from Haiti trying to get over to one of the islands. You know, we must find some compassion in our hearts, in our souls, to really, we've got to thank God that we don't find ourselves in that particular position.
That we're not in that water.
That we're not in that position.
We have another caller. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm okay, thank you.
Who am I speaking with?
Claire.
Claire?
Yes.
Welcome.
Okay. I have a question. I first came here in 2002, okay? Someone else brought me here with a visa K1, a K1 visa. Now, when I first came here, things didn't work out between him and I, so we got separated. Now, I met someone else, okay? We've been married for almost 3 years now, and I went to the immigration. I had my interview last month. I went, and then now they asked me to go back in my country.
What country are you from?
I'm from Haiti.
You're from Haiti. Let me ask you a question. If you had an opportunity to make a living in your country and support your family, would you have come to this country?
Actually, I don't know if you heard the news,
No, I'm asking you a question. If you had the opportunity to make a living in your country and support your family in your country, would you have taken the risk of coming to this country?
No.
Okay, that's the question that I had, and I think you answered it. I think that DR-CAFTA addresses those issues. I think that DR-CAFTA, if we can get these countries to make sure that they pay the proper wages to these workers under these agreements, we create millions of jobs for people that currently don't have an opportunity in their country, and that's why they're leaving.
But you're talking about Haiti, and Haiti's had problems for the past 10 years.
Haiti's going to have problems for the next 100 years.
So this lady, whether, the problem with Haiti, she left Haiti for a whole variety of other reasons.
No, but if she had an opportunity to support her family back home, I'm sure that she wouldn't have come here.
But CAFTA is not going to solve the problem.
No, it's not. But I asked a general question.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
But specifically, Claire, did you have a question you wanted to ask? Claire's gone. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
If I could just follow up with that, you
One
made the
moment, please.
point.
Over here?
One moment.
You made the point that, well, Kafka's here, it's a great thing, and if only the countries will do something with their labor laws to improve the lot of the workers, it'll really be a great
Which
thing.
the clauses are in the agreement.
But they're not,
They're in the
Well, the
agreement.
clauses-
Specifically, how are they in the agreement? We didn't address how they're.
I haven't read through the entire booklet of CAFTA.
Okay.
But I know in sitting down with the Secretary of Commerce and sitting down with a lot of the legislators in Washington that know and understand the agreement well, there are clauses in there that any country that abuses the CAFTA agreement somehow or another will be or should be sanctioned.
Well, they'll be
there's mandatory dispute resolution, for violations.
Exactly. So
Explain
I
that,
think
please,
that
Lisa.
I think that we're in the right we're in the right road. There are going to be bumps that we may have to flatten and correct, but hey, every agreement needs.
Well,
needs
I'd
some
invite you to
correction.
take a closer look, though, because what Kafka says is that the country has to enforce its current labor law. Now, the problem with that is that the current labor law in many of those countries is very oppressive toward the worker. So Kafka, by its own terms, is encouraging the continuation of that, what it is.
I don't agree with you. I think that the legislators that put this together, that put this agreement together, in the best interest of the workers, have basically covered that area.
Well, that could be the false premise, though.
I am optimistic. I don't think that the president would mislead anyone into an agreement. I think that this president has done a good job and is doing a good job.
Well, the teeth that he should have put in this bill, which is not in this bill, and if it had been in this bill, it would have passed Congress unanimous because labor would have gone with it, is that if the labor laws weren't improved, if working conditions weren't improved, the wages did not go up, then the tariffs get reimposed on that country, and it's no longer part of free trade.
I believe that some of those clauses,
it's not in there.
There are sanctions that would apply to these countries if they don't comply.
But sanctions and negotiations could go on ad nauseum.
And the sanctions are if they don't follow their labor law.
But at least there's something on the table.
But if there's something on the table that's bad, it doesn't make the bill as good. And this thing is bad for the workers down there.
It may need tweaking. The bottom line is that we have something to tweak.
It needs destruction. It doesn't need tweaking. I beg to differ with you, Fernando.
I disagree with
you. It's
you.
a very bad bill for workers down in the Central American countries.
I honestly don't think so.
It's putting the foxes in charge of the chicken coop. That's what's going on.
No, I believe that the bill is a good bill. I believe that it's going to create jobs. It's going to create opportunities. And this country is basically going to give those countries the opportunities to find jobs for people that would otherwise immigrate.
Okay, we have
to this
another
country.
caller. I do want to mention that Claire's issue was not addressed, but we do have Howard Brill, an immigration attorney, coming on very soon. We will talk to you about that, Claire, soon. So just stay around. Who's with us now? Caller? Hi, caller.
Hello.
Okay.
This is Mauricio Paez from the Hispanic National Bar Association in New York.
Hello, Mr. Paez. We were expecting you. Thank you for calling.
I'm doing fine, thank you, although except that I'm hear you very, very far in the background.
Can you hear me now? Do you have volume? Okay.
Yes, I'm here, but I hear you very, very deep in the background.
Okay, what is your question?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's our guest.
Yes, that's right. Mr. Paez is the president of the National Bar Association in Manhattan?
New York region of the Hispanic
in the
National
region.
Bar.
And Lisa, would you like to speak to her?
Welcome, Mauricio. Thank you for calling in. I wanted to just talk to you briefly about what exactly the Hispanic Bar Association is doing in New York.
So I'm having trouble hearing you, but I do want to call and sort of make a couple of points that I think are worth mentioning regarding the support that the Hispanic National Bar Association articulated for the DR-CAFTA and urging this passage.
Yes, I understand that in May there was a press release that was sent out in support of DR-CAFTA. Please.
From the Hispanic National Bar's perspective, we have quite an extensive process before the Hispanic National Bar Association takes a position on major issues of national importance, such as a free trade agreement. And the Hispanic National Bar Association as some of you might know. It's a national organization which represents the interest of over 25,000 attorneys, judges, law professors, and law students. It's a national organization that is chartered as an advocacy organization on behalf of the Hispanic legal profession and also the Hispanic community. When DR-CAFTA was proposed to Congress for vote, the Hispanic National Bar Association, through its rapid response team, conducted a very extensive review of the DR-CAFTA provisions and the impact that would have in the Dominican Republic, Central America, and the United States. And the process really entails going through both the legal, economic, and social impact of a free trade agreement such as DR-CAFTA. And a proposal by the rapid response team in reviewing all of the different interests that have been articulated both in favor and support of DR-CAFTA to make a recommendation to the Hispanic National Bar Association governing body, which is the Board of Governors. And in issues such as these, it is the Board of Governors of the Hispanic National Bar Association which eventually votes either to support or not support or to speak against these kinds of initiatives like a free trade agreement. And through that review process, there's a number of questions and recommendations and written reports that are submitted to the Board of Governors by the Rapid Response Team, which consists of the President, President-elect, and the immediate past President and the Vice President of External Affairs, which recommends the level of support or opposition that the Hispanic National Bar should take. I am a member of the board and have been fortunate to receive a lot of information about DR-CAFTA. The board overwhelmingly voted to support and to push for the passage of DR-CAFTA, and we certainly are very happy that DR-CAFTA was passed. And one of the primary reasons for the support is for the potential that DR-CAFTA has in terms of spurring economic development in the United States for exports to the Dominican Republic and Central America. Having an almost immediate 80% dismantling of trade barriers to a number of goods and services going from the United States to Central America and Dominican Republic, which has the potential of being export in terms of source exports to be from Hispanic-owned businesses, is something that we're certainly in favor of.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paez, for calling in. We do need to take a break for a short PSA.
I'm sorry, Lisa, could you just repeat that again, because I didn't catch your question.
Mauricio, we're just taking a minute break.
These are some of the animals that we have readily available at the Noah's Ark Project shelter. Here we have Charlie. He is about a year old. He is a purebred Jack Russell Terrier. He is perfectly healthy, has all his shots. He is a very good boy. He's definitely a people doggy, and he's very affectionate. Yes, you are. And he is up for adoption, and he's looking for a good home. So here we have Magic. He is a 5-month-old white boxer. He's also a purebred. He's very friendly. He's very affectionate. He's also very active. There's really nothing wrong with him. He's more than ready for a good home with a lot of space to play and somebody to play with him all the time. If you'd like more information, you can visit us on the web at www.arkproject.com, or you can give us a call at 718-343-5204.
He's giving background as to how.
Is he still there?
The Noah's Ark Project is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping animals in our community. If you'd like to help the Noah's Ark Project or help any of these pets, please contact us at 718-343-5204 or contact us through our website at www.arkproject.com.
Hi, we are back with Talking About. I'm Kate McGrain, and joining us is Howard Brill, immigration attorney. And do you have your own firm, or who are you working for?
Yes, in my own firm in Hempstead, Island.
Okay. Great, thank you for coming. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, I'm an immigration attorney for almost 25 years. I was the chair of the Immigration Law Committee at the Bar Association. I've written numerous articles on immigration law, and I'm currently a mediator at the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in immigration matters.
Okay, very good. We had a caller earlier. I just would like to touch on this because I don't want it to go by the wayside. I don't know if you were listening. A woman named Claire was upset because she had now married into the country, and now they're asking her years later to leave.
Well, the laws of the country, I don't know if Claire had said whether she married a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident.
She actually did not say that.
Okay. If she did marry a U.S. citizen and she came in with a visa, even if she overstayed the visa, she would not have to return to her home country. However, if she came in without a visa, entry without inspection, and had nothing in the pipeline, so to speak, with immigration or the Department of Labor before April 30th, 2001, then she would have to go back to Port-au-Prince to get her visa.
If I recall, it was just around that time, so that could be an issue.
If she had filed papers, even if the case was denied, but papers were in with the Department of Labor or Immigration, now it's Department of Homeland Security, before April 30th of 2001, then she would be able to obtain her permanent residency here in the United States.
We had some very heated comments about going on about the immigration issues regarding DR-CAFTA.
Right.
Do you have anything to add to?
Well, I think that the regulations haven't been promulgated yet as to whether or how individuals are going to obtain work authorization through that. But if it's similar to the NAFTA, which is the North American Free Trade Agreement, that does have a great many benefits for people coming into the United States who want to work in the professional capacity. It expands tremendously
Professional capacity?
in the professional capacity.
Define that?
People with degrees, management, teachers, scientists, people that are coming here from Canada or Mexico, who are native and citizens of Canada or Mexico, can come in with what's called a TN visa under the NAFTA agreement, which is more beneficial to them and more beneficial to the countries here, as opposed to the normal H-1B visas from
I have a question
all over.
for probably for one of you.
The heated discussion is here.
Yeah, the North American Free Trade Agreement is now, what, 7 years?
It's about 10 years
10
old.
years old?
Yeah.
Why, if this was supposed to be a success, why did it take so long for CAFTA to come along? Why was it so difficult? They were modeled, the CAFTA was modeled on NAFTA, so what was so hard about it?
You know, when I was Commissioner of Economic Development in Suffolk County, we had, at that time, we were dealing with the Canadian American Free Trade Agreement. And we took a look at it, and the things that they were going to let into the country without tariffs, it was killing buffalo. Buffalo's demise.
The animal buffalo or
the
city of Buffalo?
The city of Buffalo. No, the animal buffaloes were killed a long time ago.
Okay.
The city of Buffalo got hurt because the Canadian economy and manufacturing was doing much better than the city of Buffalo, and the people in Buffalo were going across to Canada to work. So
That's
that,
interesting.
And then the Rust Belt, or the Rust Belt industries in Buffalo just died because steel is expensive to make here, and a lot of the things they do up there. So when we took a look, they would allow lace in things that didn't matter. NAFTA itself, I'm not so sure that I want to say NAFTA was that big a success for us economically. Because in North America we're dealing with Mexico, which has a troubled economy. In Canada, which we already had a good agreement with in the first place, and our borders were open and there was good economic activity there. I would think that the most important thing that CAFTA and NAFTA brings is it really unites our hemisphere. in terms of trade and the countries. What really has to be dealt with, which is what Howard had mentioned, are the people in the countries that we're dealing with CAFTA don't have these advanced degrees. And those are the ones that you and I will both agree we care about. And that's the issue that should be resolved. Look, South Korea, the biggest export they have are their people. It's the most densely populated country in the world. And the people that are coming over are middle class, well-educated people that assimilate into the U.S. and take the jobs. A lot of them use the cash businesses and open up businesses. Fruits, veggies, you see those nail places, turnkey operations. They do very, very well because they're trained to do that. The people that are coming here, and you and I agree with the folks that are coming here, are taking the jobs that don't require an education. And so part of it to make it work is to deal with those and educate and get them assimilated into our economy.
We do have a caller. Go ahead, please. Hello, caller. Are you there? He's
I
gone.
think if I could just interject something. There are programs in the United States currently labeled as TPS, Temporary Protected Status, for people from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras,
Colombia,
in which individuals here in the United States from those countries get work permits, get Social Security numbers, can work here legally. The premise of those programs was due to possibly civil wars, due to natural disasters, hurricanes, volcanoes. The natives and citizens of those countries that were here can work, hopefully send money back home to rebuild their countries so the government of the United States doesn't have to do that. Now, perhaps DR-CAFTA will come up with some kinds of regulations or procedures allowing skilled workers, not professionals, not with degrees, the ability to legally work here, the ability to file tax returns, and the ability to send a significant amount of money back home to their home countries for their families to rebuild countries and strengthen their economy. And I think that if that does come out in the regulations in DR-CAFTA, it'll be a tremendous boom.
It's important to note that middle class and the very rich don't leave their countries. They stay home. They're comfortable. They have visas. They can travel the world. Money isn't an issue. The people that are coming here are people that are just poor, that want to support their families, that see their kids, starving, that can't put food on the table, that can't dress their kids. Those are the people that are trying to come here to make a living, doing whatever it takes to send money back home. So you're never going to disturb that middle class and very wealthy communities in these countries.
We've hit on how it affects the workers. What we didn't really talk about specifically is what the U.S. is getting out of it. What is the monetary impact?
They're exporting a ton of their products.
And we do no longer have to pay.
That creates jobs here. That creates opportunity for small businesses. We never actually were very specific.
It eliminated tariffs.
It eliminates tariffs when the U.S. products goes into those particular countries. But right now, the way the U.S. economy is, I guess the president trying to make this economy a lot better is giving opportunities to manufacturers here to send, fabric to these countries where then a product could be made and then the product could come back as a finished product. You can create industry in these countries. You can export a lot of the products that are raw from the United States to these countries. They can make whatever it is and they can ship it back. So I think, it helps the U.S. economy tremendously.
Well,
it's a win-win situation.
Before I came, I opened up the U.S. Census, and I took a look at the major countries that export to the United States. There wasn't one Central American country on it, and nor the Dominican Republic. A lot of our fabrics and our clothes get manufactured in the Pacific Rim because of the cheap labor force. So there's competition there, and the reason for that is they pay less money than South America.
We need to keep our neighbors happy and solid, economically solid. in order for us to solve a lot of other issues that come with it.
disagreement.
So I believe that having all the products being imported into this country from China and China buying diddly from us, I think it's ridiculous. I think that now, the message is very clear. We're going to work with our neighbors. We're going to work with the countries that are close to the United States. We're going to, free trade with them. And I think that's the best thing this country has done.
So you believe that this is going to help make the Central American countries more competitive with China?
Oh, not at all. I mean, look, China has it's the largest market in the world. More American companies are tripping over themselves to set up business in China. I tried when I was commissioned to set that up. That is a huge market. The Central American countries that are involved in this agreement can't even come close to being a market that China can. We're paying $64 a barrel of oil because of the China consumption, not because of Central America booming economy.
If you have 5% of the business, if you can take 5% of the business we give China and give it to these Central and South American countries, it's a home run.
But the reason is that we give it to China is because of the wages. That's the point. If you want the wages to go up under CAFTA in those countries, you're going to have to pay
if you take away
more
the
money than
tariffs,
China.
if you take away the tariffs, I think that they'll become more competitive. I think that you'll
we
be
just
able
did.
to.
We just did.
Yeah,
that.
so
Okay.
the Central American
that's what we'll
countries
see
and
coming.
Dominican Republic will become more competitive. Besides, you get a manufacturer that's from the United States, let's say the Gap. You know how easy it is for them to do business with a country that's 3.5 hours away than to do business that's around the world,
Sure.
with a country that's around the world. It's so much faster, it's so much cleaner, it's so much easier. I think that, this CAFTA was really well thought. And I believe that a lot of these manufacturers are happy that CAFTA is going through. Now, I remember years ago when I went to one of the first meetings when CAFTA was being first discussed and introduced, there were a lot of major corporations there like Merck, Pfizer, Sony.
Supporting it?
No.
Not supporting
No, not supporting it. Because they believe that they're losing a lot of business to these Central American countries and the Dominican Republic.
Wouldn't those companies also be benefiting from the lack of tariff?
Well, what they were there to do was to lobby, and they were giving a lot of money to the legislators, to the congressmen, the senators, and telling them until these countries agree that they're not going to, when you fake a product, when you
reproduce it.
When you steal someone's patent and you're making a product that's a copy, right? When you're forging or when you're doing knockoffs, you're hurting their label. You're hurting their company.
But all the pharmaceutical companies have subsidiaries in Central America and Mexico. Bayer's down there. They all have them down there.
You got a Dominican Republic where they're not. And these people were complaining that they wanted to keep Dominican Republic specifically out of the free trade agreement because they believe that in the Dominican Republic there's more people taking advantage of their patents and their products and they're selling. They're not selling their product, but they're selling knockoffs. And they were pissed off about that. So there's a lot of interests that go on here.
Is that a technical term?
If I can just respond to something that you said a while ago when you said that the middle class or wealthy, they like it in their home countries, they want to stay there. There are visas called H-1B visas given out to professionals. The United States' fiscal year is October 1 to September 30th. October 1, 2005 is coming up for the new H-1B visas. Today, they closed. August 12th, there are no more H-1B visas available for next year. So I don't think that people coming here or people wanting to work here are only the skilled workers or unskilled workers or the lower class. I think that the middle class, the educated people, they want to come here, and it's certainly helping the economy of the United States because companies would not be asking for all these people to come here if they didn't need the labor. So I think
But they're coming here more for tourism reasons.
Well, then how do you account for the fact that right now in August, 3 months before the new fiscal year, there's no more H visas for professionals.
So, yeah, but professionals that are coming here to look for opportunity, to look for jobs, is what you're saying? I'm talking about the middle class and the very rich.
But they were
that
middle class in their home
countries.
countries.
But they don't need to come here to look for those opportunities. These people are pretty much
But
set.
the
They
companies
come here
here
for visas.
want them here. That's why they're petitioning the Department of Homeland Security, asking the department, please give them visas to come here because we need them.
But you see, you're basically stating it.
I don't want
they
to-
are the ones in demand. They're not the ones demanding to come.
Thank
They're the
you.
ones that U.S. companies
Thank you.
want to come here.
I don't want to miss this opportunity. We only have a few minutes left, and I do want to talk about Long Island. Asali is Long Island based. This is what you're here to represent.
Yeah, we've been around for about 7 years. We were sworn in by the ex-president of El Salvador, Carlos Quintanilla Smith, and we're doing tremendous work with the community. Lisa Persak, who's the vice president, I can't thank her enough. I mean, she's giving us books, wheelchairs, crutches, computers, 137 computers that were donated from the Bethpage School District, and we're bringing this to the Central American countries, which is something that I feel very proud. You know.
So you are a liaison between Long Island and
in Long Island, the Salvadoran community, I guess these two gentlemen, they can correct me if I'm wrong, is the biggest growing community right now in Long Island, the Salvadorian, especially in Hempstead. Like 80% of the business owners, they come from El Salvador, and we feel very good at what we're doing right now. For the past 7 years, we've been very involved with the community, helping out, and we went to D.C. with Lisa Persa had the opportunity to speak with Secretary Gutierrez in a private meetings that we had with the Secretary, and he gave us the input, the importance of the work that we're doing in Long Island. I mean, he was even thinking coming down to have a meeting with us. So eventually in the future, we're going to be doing this because the more help, the more support that we get from various communities. I mean, we're not only focusing now in the Central American community. We, of course, want to go to Santo Domingo, Chile, Colombia. We want to help out the old American community. That's basically what we do. And again, Lisa, I want to thank you publicly here that, you know, with all your support, everything you're doing, and thanks for inviting me. I know we're running out of time, but I just want to thank you, and we should do this more often. You know, this is nice, and invite people like Fernando Mateos, who's very, very involved also in the Dominican community. But give us your input. I mean, you spoke with Secretary Gutierrez.
Well, I'd like to share a different perspective because, you know, Asali is really, it's the voice of the Hispanic population here on Long Island. And I hear big business, and I hear money and economy and immigration, etc. But, you know, the whole reason why we do anything is for our children.
Right.
And that's really the bottom line. We want to help the families stay together in their countries. We want to give them an opportunity to protect their children, to take care of them, nurture them, and really, we're exporting the American dream, and that's really the bottom line. The children are our future. We have to take care of them.
Children are our future.
So how do you, tell us how you see your children, how you see what we're talking about here today.
Well,
being a direct impact on it.
Well, they're going to be able to see that the United States doesn't just help themselves. They're going to see that the United States can reach across no matter what the next door neighbor needs, and is going to say, okay, I'm willing to help. And if they can see something that large, they can certainly bring it down.
Even have life lessons.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even life lessons. That's fantastic. Okay, now dollars and cents. What does this really mean to Long Islanders in terms of money? CAFTA is supposed to affect less than 1% of overall U.S. trade. Yes, no?
It's not going to impact Long Island. The competition that you were talking about, sugar, sugar, that we don't do sugar. Brooklyn used to with Rivera and Sucrest. They used to work for them. Sugar beets are the biggest competitors for cane sugar, and that comes out of Europe. We don't import that many products on Long Island. The workforce that benefits Long Island, which are the undocumented workforce, are still going to be here. I don't think that the wages in the countries that CAFTA wants to really impact are going to go high enough. That's going to take away the workers from Long Island. And I think I think for Long Island, everything's going to stay the same regarding how we do business because CAFTA just wasn't meant to impact us.
I think that CAFTA will have an impact in New York as a whole. If you look at New York City, for example, where there are 3 million Hispanics, and I'd say maybe 2/3 of those are immigrants. Most of the supermarkets are owned by Hispanics. Most of the bodegas are owned by Hispanics. Most of the food that's consumed is consumed by Hispanics. It's amazing when you come from your country to this country. You go to a store and you want to see your home products on the shelves, but when you're back home, you want to see U.S. products on the shelves.
Isn't that funny?
So yeah, that's the way it works. You know, when I go to the Dominican Republic, I want to see products that I buy here. But when I come here, I want to see products on the shelves that I would buy there. So I think that it's certainly gonna have an impact, at least in certain industries like the food industry, the beverage industry, and that kind of stuff.
We are just about out of time. I want to thank you all for joining us. I appreciate your time. This is Kate McGrain with Lisa Perzak. We are talking about. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was very nice.
Thank you. Did we talk?